The day the aliens came was like any other on Earth. People went about their lives, unaware that everything was about to change. In New York City, the streets buzzed with the usual noise of traffic and chatter. In a small village in India, farmers tended their crops under the hot sun. And in the halls of power in Washington, D.C., politicians argued about the same old things. Then it happened. The sky lit up with a strange, pulsing light. At first, people thought it was a new kind of fireworks or maybe a weird weather event. But as the light grew stronger and brighter, a hush fell over the world. Everyone, from the busiest city to the most remote village, looked up in wonder and fear. Slowly, a massive ship appeared through the clouds. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its surface shimmered like oil on water, changing colors as it moved. It was big enough to cast a shadow over entire cities. As it descended, smaller ships broke away from it, heading to different parts of the world. One of these ships landed on the lawn of the White House. Another touched down in the middle of Tiananmen Square in Beijing. A third landed near the Eiffel Tower in Paris. In each location, strange creatures emerged. They were tall and slender, with skin that looked like polished metal. Their eyes were large and black, seeming to take in everything at once. The aliens spoke, but not with words. Instead, images and feelings appeared in the minds of the humans near them. They showed pictures of peace and friendship, of worlds working together. Many people felt a sense of joy and hope. Maybe this was the start of a new age for humanity. But not everyone felt the same way. In the White House, President Sarah Chin watched the aliens with narrowed eyes. She had spent her life in politics and knew that things were rarely as simple as they seemed. "We need to be careful," she told her advisors. "We don't know what they really want." In China, General Lai Wei felt the same way. He had fought in wars and knew that even the friendliest smile could hide dangerous intentions. He ordered his troops to be ready, just in case. The aliens, sensing the tension, tried to show more peaceful images. They projected pictures of advanced technology, cures for diseases, and ways to clean up the environment. Many people were amazed and excited. Scientists and doctors crowded around the aliens, eager to learn more. But then something went wrong. In Paris, a young boy, curious about the shiny aliens, ran up to touch one. The alien, startled by the sudden movement, let out a high-pitched sound. To human ears, it was like nails on a chalkboard. People covered their ears in pain. The boy's father, thinking his son was in danger, rushed forward to protect him. He pushed the alien, not realizing how strong he was compared to the fragile creature. The alien fell, its delicate body breaking on the hard ground. In an instant, the peaceful scene turned to chaos. The other aliens reacted with fear and anger. They sent out waves of emotion that made people's heads hurt. Some people fell to the ground, screaming in pain. The military, already on edge, saw this as an attack. Soldiers opened fire on the aliens. The aliens, in turn, used strange weapons that sent out pulses of energy, knocking people unconscious. Within minutes, the scene was repeated all over the world. What had started as a peaceful first contact turned into a battlefield. The big ship in the sky lit up with angry red lights. More small ships poured out of it, these ones armed with weapons. President Chen watched in horror as reports came in from around the world. "This is a disaster," she said. "We need to find a way to talk to them, to explain that this was all a misunderstanding." But it was too late. The Galactic Council, watching from their ship, had already made their decision. To them, humans were dangerous, unpredictable creatures. They couldn't be trusted. As night fell on Earth, people huddled in their homes, watching the alien ships patrol the skies. The dream of peaceful first contact had turned into a nightmare. And in secret bunkers and hidden rooms, Earth's leaders began to plan. They knew that humanity's future now depended on what they did next. The war for Earth's survival had begun. 2 weeks had passed since the disastrous first contact. The skies over Earth were no longer filled with alien ships, but the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. People went about their daily lives, but their eyes kept drifting upward, wondering when the aliens would return. In the White House, President Sarah Chen hadn't slept in days. She sat at her desk, surrounded by screens showing news from around the world. Reports of alien sightings, strange lights in the sky, and unexplained phenomena flooded in from every corner of the globe. "Madam President," her aide said, rushing into the room, "we're receiving a transmission. It's them." Chen's heart raced as she nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The largest screen in the room flickered to life. The face that appeared was alien, yet somehow familiar. It had large black eyes and skin that shimmered like metal. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, words appeared in everyone's minds. "People of Earth," the alien said, its mental voice cold and formal, "we are the Galactic Council. Your actions during our peaceful mission have proven that you are not ready to join the galactic community." Chen leaned forward, her hands gripping the edge of her desk. This was the moment that would decide Earth's fate. "We hereby issue an ultimatum," the alien continued. "You have 30 Earth days to surrender your planet and submit to our rule. If you do not comply, we will be forced to take more drastic measures." The screen went dark, leaving the room in stunned silence. "Get me the other world leaders," Chen said, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "We need to decide how to respond." As the news of the ultimatum spread, panic gripped the world. In New York, people rushed to stockpile food and supplies. In Tokyo, engineers worked around the clock to repurpose civilian technology for defense. And in a small lab in New Delhi, a young scientist named Arjun Patel made a discovery that would change everything. Arjun had been studying the alien technology left behind after the first contact. As he examined a piece of the alien ship under a microscope, he noticed something strange. The material seemed to react to Earth's magnetic field in a way he'd never seen before. "This could be it," he muttered to himself, his eyes wide with excitement. This could be their weakness. As world leaders debated their options, Arjun reached out to military strategists with his findings. At first, they were skeptical. But as he explained his theory, their doubt turned to hope. Meanwhile, in the hidden base of the Galactic Council, the aliens watched Earth with growing concern. They had expected the humans to give up quickly, but instead they saw a planet mobilizing for war. "These humans are more resilient than we thought," one alien said to another. "Perhaps we underestimated them." Back on Earth, President Chen stood before the United Nations, addressing the world. "We will not surrender," she said, her voice firm and resolute. "Earth is our home, and we will defend it. But we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every species that has been bullied and oppressed by the Galactic Council. Today, we take a stand not just for humanity, but for freedom across the galaxy." Her words were met with thunderous applause. In homes and public squares around the world, people cheered. The fear that had gripped them began to turn into determination. In his lab, Arjun worked tirelessly to develop a weapon based on his discovery. Military engineers from around the world joined him, bringing their expertise and resources. As the days ticked by, their progress was rapid. On day 25 of the ultimatum, Arjun stepped back from his workbench, a small device in his hand. It didn't look like much, just a metal box with a few buttons and dials. But inside was the culmination of humanity's best minds working together. "It's ready," he said, his voice filled with a mix of pride and apprehension. As the news spread, a sense of nervous excitement filled the air. Humanity had a secret weapon. But would it be enough? The final days of the ultimatum ticked by, each hour feeling like an eternity. On the morning of day 30, people around the world held their breath. In command centers and military bases, soldiers stood ready. And in a heavily guarded room, President Chen sat with her finger hovering over a button. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. The next move was humanity's to make. The world held its breath as the deadline approached. In a secret underground facility, Arjun Patel and his team of scientists worked tirelessly to perfect Earth's new weapon. The device, which they called the magnetic disruptor, was humanity's best hope against the alien threat. Arjun wiped sweat from his brow as he made final adjustments to the prototype. "We're almost there," he said to his team. "Just a few more tests." Meanwhile, in capitals around the world, leaders met to discuss strategy. They knew they couldn't match the aliens in technology or numbers. Their only chance was to outsmart them. President Chen sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by generals and advisors. "What's the status of the magnetic disruptor?" she asked. A general cleared his throat. "Dr. Patel reports that it's nearly ready, Madam President, but we only have one prototype. We need time to mass produce it." Chen nodded grimly. "Time is the one thing we don't have. We'll have to make do with what we've got." As the meeting continued, a young lieutenant burst into the room. "Madam President, we're detecting multiple objects entering Earth's atmosphere. The aliens are here." The room erupted into chaos. Chen raised her hand for silence. "This is it, people. Execute Plan Omega, and get me Dr. Patel on the line." Across the globe, military bases sprang into action. Fighters took to the skies, and ground troops moved into position. But everyone knew these were just delaying tactics. The real battle would be won or lost with Arjun's invention. In his lab, Arjun answered the call from the president. "Dr. Patel, we're out of time. Is the disruptor ready?" Arjun looked at his team, then at the device on the table. It wasn't perfect, but it would have to do. "Yes, Madam President. It's as ready as it'll ever be." "Good," Chen replied. "Get to the command center immediately. You're the only one who knows how to operate it." As Arjun was rushed to the command center, alien ships appeared in the skies over major cities. They were massive, dwarfing even the largest human buildings. People watched in terror as smaller ships detached from the motherships and began descending. In New York, Paris, Tokyo, and other cities around the world, the aliens landed. But this time, they didn't come in peace. Energy weapons fired from their ships, destroying military targets and government buildings. At the command center, Arjun arrived breathless, clutching the magnetic disruptor. President Chen met him at the door. "Dr. Patel, you're our last hope. Can you explain how this works?" Arjun nodded, setting up the device. "It exploits a weakness in their technology. Their ships and weapons rely on a specific type of magnetic field. This device disrupts that field, rendering their technology useless. But there's a catch," he continued. "It only works within a certain range. We need to get close to their main ship to have any effect." Chen turned to her generals. "You heard him. We need to get Dr. Patel and that device onto one of our fastest jets. Get him as close to their mothership as possible." As the orders were given, reports flooded in from around the world. The aliens were advancing rapidly, their superior technology overwhelming Earth's defenses. Humanity was on the brink of defeat. Arjun found himself strapped into a fighter jet, the magnetic disruptor secured beside him. The pilot, a stern-faced woman named Captain Rodriguez, gave him a nod. "Ready, Doc? This is going to be one hell of a ride." As they took off, Arjun could see the battle raging below. It was a David versus Goliath scenario, with Earth's forces fighting valiantly against overwhelming odds. They climbed higher and higher, heading straight for the alien mothership. Smaller alien craft noticed them and gave chase. Captain Rodriguez's skilled flying kept them just out of reach of the alien weapons. "We're almost in range," Arjun shouted over the roar of the engines. Just a little closer. The alien mothership loomed before them, a massive structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Arjun's hands shook as he reached for the disruptor's controls. "Now or never, Doc," Rodriguez yelled as she dodged another alien attack. Arjun took a deep breath and pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a wave of energy pulsed out from the device. The alien ships around them suddenly went dark, dropping from the sky like stones. The mothership itself began to flicker and falter. Arjun watched in awe as sections of it began to shut down. "It's working," he cried out. "It's actually working." As the alien ship began to fall, Arjun realized that this was just the beginning. The real fight for Earth's future was about to begin. The world watched in awe as the massive alien mothership, once seemingly invincible, began to falter and fall. Arjun's magnetic disruptor had worked beyond their wildest dreams. But this was just the beginning of Earth's counterattack. As the alien ship crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, sending huge waves in all directions, President Chen stood in the command center, her face set with determination. "Now's our chance," she said to her generals. "Launch Operation Thunderbolt." Across the globe, hidden missile silos opened. Jet fighters, equipped with smaller versions of the magnetic disruptor, took to the skies. This was humanity's moment to strike back. In New York, the Statue of Liberty stood tall amidst the chaos. Alien ships that had been terrorizing the city suddenly lost power and fell from the sky. Captain Maria Rodriguez, who had flown Arjun on his mission, led a squadron of fighters to mop up the remaining alien forces. "This is for Earth," she shouted as she fired her weapons, taking down another alien craft. Meanwhile, in Beijing, General Lai Wei coordinated a ground assault against the alien forces that had landed in the city. His troops, once outmatched, now found themselves on equal footing as the aliens' advanced weapons failed to function. "Push forward," Lai Wei ordered. "Show them the strength of humanity." The scene was repeated in cities around the world. Paris, London, Tokyo, Moscow, everywhere. Humans fought back with a ferocity that shocked the alien invaders. In the depths of the ocean, the alien mothership lay broken but not destroyed. Inside, the Galactic Council's leaders struggled to understand what had gone wrong. "How is this possible?" one alien leader asked, its mental voice filled with panic. "These primitives shouldn't have been able to defeat our technology." Another alien, older and wiser, responded grimly. "We underestimated them. These humans, they're unlike any species we've encountered before." Back in Washington, D.C., Arjun rushed into the command center, still wearing his flight suit. "Madam President," he said, breathless with excitement, "the disruptor worked even better than we hoped. But we need to act fast. Its effects won't last forever." President Chen nodded. "Dr. Patel, you've given us a fighting chance. Now, we need to use it." She turned to her communications officer. "Get me a line to the alien leadership. It's time we gave them our response to their ultimatum." As the battle raged on, a message was broadcast across all frequencies, in every language on Earth, and in the mental language of the aliens. "This is President Sarah Chen of Earth. You came to our world with threats and violence. You thought we would surrender, that we were weak. You were wrong. We are humanity. We have faced extinction before, and we have always survived. We will not bow to tyrants, whether they come from Earth or the stars. This is our home, and we will defend it. Your ultimatum is rejected. Instead, we offer you a choice. Leave our solar system in peace, or face the consequences of your aggression." The message echoed across the planet and into space. In their damaged mothership, the alien leaders listened with a mixture of shock and grudging respect. On the streets of Earth's cities, people cheered as they heard the message. In London, a group of civilians worked together to tie up captured alien soldiers. In Rio de Janeiro, children threw rocks at a downed alien ship, no longer afraid of the once terrifying invaders. As the day wore on, reports came in from around the world. The aliens were in retreat. Their superior technology, rendered useless by the magnetic disruptor, was no match for human determination and ingenuity. But even as they celebrated their victories, Earth's leaders knew this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council would not take this defeat lightly. They would return, and next time, they would be prepared for Earth's secret weapon. In his lab, Arjun already worked on improvements to the disruptor, knowing they would need every advantage in the battles to come. As night fell on the first day of Earth's counterattack, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. The universe had become a much larger, more dangerous place, but humanity had proven that they were ready to take their place among the stars, whether the Galactic Council liked it or not. The war for Earth's future had truly begun, and humanity had won its first battle. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes gathered around their communication devices, eager to hear about the small blue planet that had defied the mighty Galactic Council. In the grand halls of the Council's homeworld, confusion and anger reigned. The Supreme Counselor, a tall, willowy being with shimmering scales, paced back and forth. "How could this happen?" he demanded. These humans were supposed to be primitive. His advisors cowered before him, their tentacles trembling. One brave soul spoke up. "Supreme Counselor, it appears we greatly underestimated their resourcefulness and determination." Meanwhile, on a distant planet called Zorg, a group of rebels watched the reports with growing excitement. Their leader, a squat, furry creature named Blixer, turned to his comrades with gleaming eyes. "Do you see?" he exclaimed. "If the humans can stand up to the Council, so can we." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Species that had long suffered under the Council's rule began to whisper of revolution. The balance of power that had stood for millennia was beginning to crumble. Back on Earth, the celebrations were tempered with caution. In the White House Situation Room, President Chen met with her advisors. "We've won the battle," she said, her voice serious. "But the war is far from over. What's our next move?" General Williams, a grizzled veteran, spoke up. "Madam President, I suggest we press our advantage. We should take the fight to them." But Dr. Arjun Patel, the scientist behind the magnetic disruptor, disagreed. "With all due respect, General, we're not ready for that. We need time to study their technology, to prepare our defenses." As the debate raged on Earth, the Galactic Council was facing its own crisis. Reports were coming in from all corners of the galaxy. Subject species were rebelling, inspired by Earth's example. The Council's once iron grip on power was slipping. In a secret chamber, the Supreme Counselor met with his most trusted advisors. "We cannot let this stand," he hissed. "If we show weakness now, everything we've built will fall apart." One advisor, older and wiser than the rest, spoke softly. "Perhaps, Supreme Counselor, it is time for a new approach. These humans have shown themselves to be formidable. Maybe we should seek an alliance rather than conquest." The Supreme Counselor's eyes narrowed. An alliance? With primitives? Unthinkable. But the seed of doubt had been planted. As the Council argued, more and more worlds declared their independence. The galaxy was changing, and the Council was struggling to keep up. On a small moon orbiting a gas giant, a group of alien scientists worked feverishly. They had been tasked with finding a way to counter Earth's magnetic disruptor. "We must not fail," their leader said, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "The future of the Council depends on us." As the galactic political landscape shifted, Earth found itself at the center of attention. Alien diplomats arrived in secret, seeking alliances. Traders from distant worlds risked the Council's wrath to make contact, eager to do business with the species that had defied the odds. In New York, the United Nations had to hastily create a new committee for extraterrestrial affairs. Overnight, humanity had gone from a single-planet species to a player on the galactic stage. But with this new status came new dangers. Not all aliens were friendly, and many saw Earth as a threat to be eliminated. Earth's leaders knew they had to tread carefully. President Chen stood before the UN General Assembly, addressing not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. "We did not ask for this war," she said, her voice strong and clear. We only wish to live in peace, but now that we have been thrust onto the galactic stage, we will not shrink from our responsibility. We extend a hand of friendship to all peaceful species, but we warn those who would threaten us. Earth will not bow. We will not surrender. We are humanity, and we are here to stay." As her words were translated and broadcast across the stars, the galaxy held its breath. The age of Earth's isolation was over. For better or worse, humanity had become a force to be reckoned with in the cosmic order. The Galactic Council, once all-powerful, now faced an uncertain future. And at the center of it all was Earth, a small blue planet that had dared to dream of the stars. The uneasy peace lasted only 3 months. Earth had used this time wisely, preparing for the inevitable counterattack. Dr. Arjun Patel and his team had worked day and night to improve the magnetic disruptor technology, while military forces around the world trained with new alien-inspired weapons. It was a quiet Tuesday morning when the alarm sounded. In the skies above Earth, thousands of wormholes opened, spewing forth the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. The Galactic Council had returned, and this time, they were taking no chances. President Chen's face was grim as she addressed the world. "Citizens of Earth, the moment we've been preparing for has arrived. But we are ready. We will defend our home, our families, and our right to exist. Stand strong, Earth. The battle for our future begins now." As the alien fleet approached, Earth's defenses sprang into action. Satellites armed with magnetic disruptors fired, creating a web of energy that made the aliens' advance difficult. But the Council had learned from their previous defeat. Many of their ships now had shielding that could withstand the disruptors' effects, at least for a while. In orbit, Earth's hastily constructed space fleet engaged the enemy. Captain Maria Rodriguez, now commanding the flagship ESS Defiant, led the charge. For Earth, she cried as her ship unleashed a barrage of missiles. The battle was fierce. Alien ships fell from the sky, but so did human vessels. The space around Earth became a graveyard of twisted metal and floating debris. On the ground, people watched the sky with fear and hope. In London, a young girl named Emily clutched her teddy bear and whispered, "Please win, Earth." In Lagos, an old man who had seen many wars in his lifetime prayed for peace. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the real fight would be for control of the solar system. The alien fleet was pushing towards Mars, aiming to set up a base there. "We can't let them gain a foothold in our system," General Williams said in the war room. "If they take Mars, Earth is next." President Chen nodded. "Agreed. Captain Rodriguez, take your fleet to Mars. We'll hold the line here." The journey to Mars was perilous. The ESS Defiant and its fleet had to navigate through a sea of enemy ships, but they had a secret weapon. Dr. Patel had developed a new version of the magnetic disruptor that could create a temporary wormhole. "It's risky," Arjun warned. "We've never tested it on this scale." Captain Rodriguez's jaw was set. "We have no choice. It's our only shot at reaching Mars in time." With a silent prayer, she gave the order. The device activated, tearing a hole in space. The human fleet plunged through, emerging near Mars just as the alien forces were about to land. The battle for Mars was intense. The red planet's sky lit up with explosions as ships clashed above its rusty surface. On the ground, Earth's Mars colonists fought bravely, using their knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the alien landing parties. Back on Earth, the tide was turning. The improved magnetic disruptors were taking their toll on the alien fleet, but victory came at a heavy price. Cities lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost. In the asteroid belt, a final confrontation took place. The Supreme Counselor, realizing that defeat was imminent, had retreated there with his remaining forces. Captain Rodriguez led the attack, her ship darting between asteroids as it exchanged fire with the alien flagship. "Surrender," Rodriguez demanded over the comms. "You've lost." The Supreme Counselor's reply was defiant. "We are the Galactic Council. We do not surrender to primitives. What happened next would be debated for years to come. Some say it was an accident. Others claim it was a deliberate act of sacrifice. The Supreme Councilor's ship, heavily damaged, collided with a large asteroid, setting off a chain reaction that tore through the alien fleet. As the dust settled, Earth's forces found themselves victorious, but at a terrible cost. The solar system was secure, but the scars of battle would take years to heal. In the aftermath, Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her battered ship, looking out at the stars. "We've won," she said softly. "But what happens now?" The battle was over, but humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. How would they shape their new role in the galaxy? Only time would tell. 5 years had passed since the battle for Sol. Earth, once a backwater planet unknown to the wider galaxy, now stood at the center of a new interstellar community. The scars of war were slowly healing, but the memories remained fresh in everyone's minds. In New York, a grand ceremony was taking place. The United Nations building had been rebuilt, now twice as tall, and with a dome that could open to the stars. Inside, representatives from 100 alien species gathered alongside human diplomats. This was the first meeting of the Galactic Alliance, a new organization built on the principles of mutual respect and cooperation. President Sarah Chen, now in her second term, stood at the podium. Her hair had more gray than before, but her eyes still shone with determination. "Friends, allies, fellow sentients," she began, her words translated into a dozen alien languages. "We gather here not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals. The old Galactic Council ruled through fear. We choose to lead through understanding and friendship." In the audience, Captain Maria Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, nodded in agreement. She remembered the battles, the lives lost, but also the moments of unexpected kinship with former enemies. Beside her sat Zork, a former Galactic Council soldier who had defected to Earth's side. His tentacles waved gently, a sign of contentment in his species. Meanwhile, in a lab in Mumbai, Dr. Arjun Patel worked on his latest invention. The magnetic disruptor, once a weapon of war, was being repurposed for peaceful uses. "Imagine," he said to his team, "a mix of humans and aliens. We could use this technology to create clean energy, to heal sick planets, to explore the farthest reaches of space." His excitement was infectious. Among his team was Flora, a young alien scientist whose world had been liberated from Council rule. "On my planet," she said, her translator struggling with her complex language, "we have a saying: from the ashes of war, the flowers of peace bloom. I think Earth is that flower." But not all was perfect in this new galactic order. On the fringes of known space, remnants of the old Galactic Council plotted their revenge. They saw Earth's rise as a threat to the natural order of the universe. In hidden bases and on forgotten worlds, they built their forces, waiting for the right moment to strike. Back on Earth, in a small town in Kenya, a young boy named Kamau looked up at the stars with wonder. In school, he had learned about the war, about how humanity had stood up to alien invaders and won. But more importantly, he had learned about the friendships forged in the aftermath. His best friend was a young Zorlak, a species that had been among the first to ally with Earth. "Do you think we'll ever visit your home world?" Kama asked his friend. The young Zorlak's skin changed colors, a sign of excitement. "I hope so. And maybe one day we'll explore new worlds together." Their dreams were shared by millions across Earth and beyond. The galaxy, once a place of fear and oppression under the Galactic Council, was becoming a realm of opportunity and adventure. In orbit around Earth, the space station Unity served as a symbol of this new era. It was a massive structure built with technology from a dozen worlds. Here, humans and aliens worked side by side, conducting research, facilitating trade, and learning from each other. On the station's observation deck, Admiral Rodriguez stood with Zork, looking down at the blue marble of Earth. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked her alien friend. Zork's tentacles twisted in a gesture of negation. Never, he admitted. When I first came to invade your world, I thought you were savages. Now, I see that humans have a strength I never understood. You don't just survive, you thrive. You turn enemies into friends. It's remarkable. Rodriguez smiled. We're not perfect, she said. We still have a lot to learn. But I think that's what makes us special. We're always trying to be better. As they talked, a ship docked at the station. It was a joint human-alien expedition, returning from the edges of known space. They'd brought with them maps of new worlds, samples of unknown materials, and tales of wonders beyond imagination. The galaxy was vast, and there were still threats out there. The remnants of the old council, dark mysteries lurking in uncharted space, and the unknown challenges that always come with growth and change. But Earth and its allies were ready to face whatever came next. As night fell across the planet, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. The universe was no longer a place of fear and isolation. It was a frontier of endless possibilities, waiting to be explored. And humanity, against all odds, had found its place among the stars. The story of Earth's rise was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun.